Hello everybody, this is me, Amin.
And this Alex.
And welcome to another episode of Let's Talk About. And in this episode, we're going to talk about the battle of the ages. So I'm sure some of you are in the Android camp and some of you are in the iOS camp. These two camps have existed since the start of iPhone, since iPhone came into the market. Funnily enough, we are seeing. Okay, so previously, disclaimer. I have to say that when Android first came out and iPhone came into the scene, it was I'm an Android supporter. I wouldn't say fan, but I feel like Android is better. The features they have more features because back then when iPhone was launched, they didn't even have 3G.
They don't have copy and paste.
They don't have Bluetooth.
Yes.
So there's a lot of things missing, and it took them so long to catch up because Android had like a full suite of everything, and it's so easy to just make fun of iPhone people like not having full set of like very simplistic features. But interesting enough, I'm finding myself moving closer and closer, deeper and deeper into the Apple ecosystem. I'm using an iPhone. I have a Mac. I'm considering getting an iPad. And we also have data that shows that the number of Android devices that's been sold in the market is getting lesser and lesser, and the number of iPhones that's being sold in the market is getting higher and higher. Now the question is, what happened to Android and what happened to iOS?
Yeah, I mean, based on what we've seen in reports, right, it looks like Android is in trouble. But I would say, disclaimer upfront is, Android will still be dominant in the smartphone industry, at least for now, or at least in the next 5 years, because they still offer one of the more affordable devices, and I don't think Apple will actually go down to that price point, because you can get an Android phone for like less than 500 ringgit these days. For Apple, for iOS, I think you need to spend at least 2,000 ringgit to get into the ecosystem. But okay, let's go back to the numbers here. So early this year, there are a couple of reports showing that, I think this year, after we get out from the MCO, going to the pandemic. What's that?
Pandemic transition phase.
Endemic phase.
Pandemic transition phase.
Endemic phase. The whole smartphone industry has showing a decline. In Q1 2022, IT is showing that the market has declined by about 8.9%. Samsung has lost like 1.2%, Xiaomi has lost 17%, Oppo has lost 26%, Vivo has lost 27%, but Apple gained 2.2%. So they're actually, Apple's increasing their shipments despite the rest of
global smartphone shipments, right?
Yes, correct. Okay. And then in September, it was reported in the US, US market specifically, more iPhones were sold than any other smartphone for the first time ever. So the iPhone has like over 50% market share for the first time
in the US.
In the US.
Yep.
Yeah, and that shows another thing.
Yep.
And even in South Korea, right, where it's
Samsung's
home ground,
yes,
right?
Yes.
That's their turf, right? It shows that Apple is rising at the expense of Samsung, despite having the foldable phones, which looks cool. I think Samsung still is the dominant player in terms of foldable devices. That doesn't stop them from sliding. In South Korea itself, based on StatCounter, Samsung used to have like 65-66% market share. Now they slide down to 58% market share. Still leading, but they decline. Whereas Apple has increased from 27% to 34%.
Yeah, I think there's a number of factors here. Like you mentioned, price point, right? So Android devices are generally much cheaper than iPhones. You can get a Android phone for 600 ringgit, which is like you can't get anything with an Apple logo for 600 ringgit, unless it's an Apple Pencil, which is useless by itself.
Yep.
But at the same time, to Apple's credit, they are. Although I feel like they find it challenging to go down in terms of price point, they are finding innovative ways to make phones cheap for buyers to buy. So I think nowadays you can get like a fairly modern iPhone for less than, I mean, the entry point to get an iPhone is much lesser now.
Yep. You can get a brand new iPhone for 2,000 ringgit.
Yeah, like the SE.
Or you can stretch it a little bit. You can get iPhone 11.
X-Top.
Yeah. X-Top. But there's no 5G, but still an excellent phone. I still recommend you buy iPhone 11 over
the
iPhone
SE. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's one, right? So they are trying to match Android in terms of the price point. Although they wouldn't want to admit that, they are a value buy, but they're trying to do that, right? And then number two is, of course, the hardware. So previously, when there was an Android and iOS argument, it's so easy to just convince people to buy an Android because price, hardware, software.
Yeah.
Right. This time, and iPhone hardware is great. I cannot fault it. I mean, they have the best speakers, really good camera. The display is great too. And the thing is, they don't have to fight on specs. They don't have to go out and say, oh, I have so and so specs. It's just like I have Retina, Liquid Retina, XDR, whatever display. It doesn't mean anything, but when you start using it, it's like then you understand, hey, it's great.
Yeah, and then like there's no excuse anymore. Like previously, when you do the Android and iPhone comparison, right? Besides the processor, you always say, okay, Android has a better screen. You know, we have OLED screen, AMOLED screen, we have high refresh rate, we got more RAM and all that stuff, and then we have
bigger battery,
stereo speakers, water resistance. Guess what? Apple has all them now.
Everything, and it's better. And then number 3 is software. So again, we talk about price, hardware, and software. And it was easy for me to just tell people, hey, don't bother with an iPhone because it's missing a lot of things. You can't transfer files, blah, blah, blah.
Very limited here and
you
there.
Cannot customize. You cannot do this. You cannot do that. But now, right, if you ask me, hey, what can an Android do that an iPhone cannot? I really need to think hard to find one thing, and even now I can't.
I think for me, top of my head probably would be file management, because I think Android still gives that openness.
It's easier,
but actually you think about it day to day, right? How many people are going to use that?
I mean, if you're like juggling a lot of files, like for me, it's like if I'm doing work on my Android, right? So I prefer to like dump files on my Android device because it's easy for me to put them in folders, easy for me to find them.
Correct.
When I download files. Okay, so that's one. The other thing is, I want to say, okay, I want to caveat, this category could be wrong, but because I know, I think iPhone doesn't do true multitasking because they still put the app behind to sleep or on pause or something like that.
Yeah, but they've improved lately because right now I think they put more RAM, up to 6 gigs of RAM. Last time it was terrible, it's like 2 gigs of RAM. And like I think most of the time, if you're like a social media manager, if you need to handle like Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram one time, sometimes you open one app, you're
drafting a post,
you go to another app to do some research, you come back and everything's gone.
You have to rewrite.
But now that is sort of solved because Apple has finally increased the RAM.
It's solved, but it still happens though.
It still happens, yeah.
So true multitasking on Android is so much better, especially so I'm using Samsung, exclusively Samsung on Android. So I like the multitasking on Samsung. Especially for the foldable devices, you can like really do proper multitasking
and split screen as well. Even because I'm using S21 Ultra, doing split screen on Android is so much easier because Apple, you can't do that on iPhone unless it's picture-in-picture.
You can't do that. You can only do it on iPads.
Yes.
So that's one thing. So that's Apple's segmentation and stuff like that. So that's where I'm coming from, right? So I'm thinking like, okay, now I have an Android and I have an iPhone. I'm thinking like, do I even need 2 phones or can I live with an iPhone? But I can't because like you say, the file management and stuff like that.
Yep.
So what happened to Android actually? Who won and who lost the most? So did iPhone really caught up with Android, or did Android just like, okay, whatever, I don't care, whatever, I just got the numbers, man. I'm in cars, I'm in TVs, I'm in Google's perspective lah. I'm in cars, TVs, set-top boxes, whatever, I don't care, I'm everywhere.
And also, in terms of smartphone, right, it's like, I'm dominant now, like Samsung, Oppo, Vivo, everyone's on board with me. Like, if you're not going to use Android, what are you going to use? Tizen?
I think the reason why we started this conversation was Alex asked me this question. Hey, can you think of a new Android feature that you can name by the name itself that's new? And like, I was totally stumped. I can't. I mean, if you ask me what can I name in terms of iOS features, there's tons. AirDrop is super good. Continuum is really great. That thing where you can copy on iPhone and then paste on your Mac or paste on your iPad. With Android, I don't even know what's the current Android version is.
Okay, right now, most of the phones, the latest one is Android 12. The upcoming one is Android 13 that's being rolling out right now. I think Samsung has started rolling out Android 13 with One UI 5 for the Galaxy S22 series, I think a few days ago. And if you think about the new features, I also can't name the new features. Okay, here's the difference here. When Apple has WWDC, right, they announced all the new features of iOS 15, iOS 16, iOS 15, iOS 16, and it's so memorable. Like, you can do this, can do this. Of course, Android fans will say, hey, we got this long time ago. But the way Apple introduced it is like,
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal and it's sexy, and then they do deliver. It's something that you can actually use, except for some features like like satellite whatever stuff. But most of them can be delivered, and it actually makes a huge difference. For Android, like Google I/O, that's where they always announce, right? I can't be bothered with watching Google I/O because number one, either most of the features are US centric,
Yes.
or number two, they are vaporware.
Vaporware, yes.
Yeah, because they announce a lot of cool stuff, AI this, AI that. But at the end, no news.
It doesn't come out.
And if you go check through like what's new, Android 11, Android 12, Android 13, right? I think the biggest one would be like material design. And for me, right, for Android, the cool features are not actually from Google. It's actually from the manufacturers themselves.
Yep.
Like I would say kudos to Samsung, to Huawei to make the ecosystem and the interface so much more pleasant. Like they're the one who step up with the split view display, the gesture controls, even like the collaborative mode with to make sure that there's a seamless connection with your phone and your laptop.
Something like a pseudo AirDrop lah. What is it called? Huawei Mate Share or something?
I mean collaboration. Like for example, you can access your phone like Samsung DeX.
DeX,
those are by the OEMs, not Google. So they are doing this. This also leads nicely to tablets, because I would say that Google doesn't give an F for tablets.
Yeah, they don't care.
They don't care about tablets. That's why you look at Samsung and Huawei, right? When they have tablets, all the multitasking stuff, the cool features, those are done by your OEMs.
Yeah, I think it's not. It's either they don't care or they are confused, because after Honeycomb they pulled out from creating. Whatever version Honeycomb is lah. So so previously Android named their operating system versions by desserts. So there's like gingerbread lah, honeycomb lah, lollipop lah. So but now it's just numbers, because it's weird. Okay, so honeycomb was the time when they wanted to like really have tablet specific features built into the OS. And then after that, they pulled out. They're like, I can't be bothered lah.
They merge it together. They say for simplicity.
Yeah.
But because of that simplicity, right, it looks like, okay, if let's say Google doesn't give an F about tablets, right?
They don't care, yeah.
Why they would develop? Okay, so you look at tablet apps, right, from compare Android and iOS. The Android apps, right, are just basically the same app you get on the phone and just blown up to full screen.
Yep.
Whereas Apple iOS, you have properly tablet.
It's probably developed for big screen.
Yeah, that's why even like today, right, as much as even a few years back, even I'm such a hardcore Android user, hardcore Android fan, right?
Yeah.
I still say you want to get an iPad, you
get a tablet, get an
iPad. Yes. Yeah, because you get Android, right, the experience is going to be crap because Google doesn't give a damn about it. Developers also don't give a damn about it.
I mean, they're trying. I guess Samsung is trying, but you know
trying.
How hard they can try.
Yeah, but the developers are not on board. That's the thing.
Yeah, like developers, like you're talking about, like Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and all that stuff. So yeah, they don't really care.
Even in fact, some Google apps, right, work better on iPad OS than Android tablet.
Yeah.
That shows how bad it is.
Yeah, so that comes to another point, right? So you can talk about the price, three things, right? Price, hardware, and software. You go to software, we talk about the operating system, right? The other thing we talk about in terms of the software is the apps itself.
Yes.
I cannot describe, and I cannot point to one thing or something that's special about iOS apps, but there is a quality in the way iOS apps are done and how they manifest themselves that make it instantly nicer and better. Do you feel the same?
I feel the same way here. And for me, the way I look at it is there are two things. Number one is I think the brand itself. I think Apple has more stringent quality control on requirements for app developers to adhere to. Whereas Android, I think is whatever, like you can just launch whatever you want.
As long as it meets like security and whatever, okay lah, pass lah, jalan lah, whatever lah.
Yeah, and then
if the button moves sideways or whatever, I don't care. Not my problem.
Correct. And I think the biggest problem right now is, I think we all know that the number one apps for phones right now are social media. Yeah, like Instagram, TikTok, and all that stuff. And if you are a content creator, you want to upload videos.
I mean, who's not?
Yeah, you want to upload videos and all that, right? The best platform right now, sorry to say, is iOS, iPhone. Because you try to upload a video on Android, it's horrible. It's choppy, the quality is compressed.
Somehow the quality is weird. It's not as sharp.
Yeah.
For some reason, for some unexplainable reason.
Yeah, and then it seems like, for example, Instagram, right? You want to do stories. So apparently it's not using the actual camera app to do. It's more like a screen record. So that's why it's choppy. That's what I heard. And I know that some manufacturers, they're trying to overcome that situation because they know social media is so important.
Yeah.
Like Samsung. The camera app, they even have.
I mean, they speak directly to Instagram. Say, hey, you know what? I want to have better quality on my pictures and videos. Let's collaborate. How can I make my hardware work with your app
Yes.
so that we can have better stuff. I mean, they're trying,
They're trying.
but it's not the same.
Yeah, and then because we got Zamira, because Zamira is also all iPhone or iOS or stuff.
So we got her to try an Android.
Yeah, we got her S22. She loved the phone.
Customizability.
The design,
Yep.
customizability, and she loved all that. But it comes to social media, it's like, oh my god, it's so far off from iOS. So she goes back to iPhone.
Yeah, I mean that's because to people who have the benefit of comparison, then they know the difference.
Yes.
But to people who've been on Android always, they don't know what they're missing.
I think until after they start uploading videos, they say, hey, how come my videos suck, compared to the rest? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, speaking of videos, if you are like a content creator, like a serious one, right? Like the ones that you're gonna really need a camera all the time, or you know that you wanna utilize or maximize all of the wonderful moments that you have, so that you can upload it on social media, right? To like really capture the moment and to really capture the quality of that moment when you upload it on your social media, Instagram or TikTok, nothing beats an iPhone.
Another factor would be, okay, if someone going to spend 2,000 ringgit or more on a phone, right? I think you got to expect a phone that can last. That's the reason why you get a flagship phone, because you don't want the performance to be slow and all that. But besides the performance, another thing is about longevity, the support.
Yep.
And like iPhone, right, I think it's proven in the past 5-6 years that their phones last longer in terms of support. Like, for example, iOS 15, it supports all the way until the iPhone 6, which was launched like, how many, 6-7 years ago. And now the new iOS 16 supports iPhone 8 and above. So you can see how consistent they are and how well they're taking care of the old devices.
Yeah, and back then we were like, I remember we were talking about, of course Apple can support all the old devices because they remove all the important features. They just say that they support this version and this phone. But now you don't really miss a lot of features.
Yep.
One big thing, one big proponent, because my wife uses Samsung, and I've been trying to get her, hey, why don't you switch to iPhone? She doesn't want to do it because she says that customizability is a big deal. So I think a lot of people who are on Android are big customizers. They like to add skin,
Widgets,
one thing.
screen,
but my wife, she likes fonts.
okay.
And you can't do that on iPhone.
Yet.
In terms of widgets and all that, you can do it on iPhone. In fact, the customizable lock screen is, again, iPhone is late, but it's so much better.
Yeah, it's very polished, just like how you customize your Apple Watch, the application. So it's very well polished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's simple features. So like I think iOS 16 introduced this new feature where you can like quickly cut out like a person from a picture.
Yeah, live text selection. Yeah, that's super cool.
I mean, I'm sure, I don't know. I'm sorry. So I run the technology website, but I'm sure Android has it.
Android can do it.
For some reason, I don't know how to find it.
I think Google, right? I mean, they have the capability to do it, but they're just lacking, I would say. They're just lacking this department. Because they feel, we're a dominant player already, all the brands are on board, like, what? They just push incremental upgrades. I'm pretty sure there's someone in Google who are experimenting on all this, but they didn't manage to finish the job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also want to go back to the software support for Android, right? Like I said just now, right? You'll be lucky if you can get updates up to 2 years.
Yep.
Because, like, look at Google. Google has announced several initiatives to increase the longevity of phones. They were saying that, I forgot what's the name. Is it Project Treble? Whereby they separate the skin from the actual base layer on the device, so you can push updates without the OEM doing much effort.
Yep.
They've done that, but so far we're not seeing it. And lately, I think more of the reputable manufacturers like Samsung, they promise to have 4 generations of OS updates and 5 years of security updates. Kudos to them, because that makes customers assured that despite not having the latest phone, I still can get latest updates.
Yep.
My phone is still secure, because even my S10 I still can get updates. So that's pretty good. But look at other brands, like for example, Nokia, for example, who claims to offer like stock Android experience. Even the last flagship device, the Nokia 9 PureView, right? Couldn't even get Android 11, despite the promise of giving at least 2 years updates.
Because Nokia is no longer a big company. It's just a brand name.
Yeah,
it's run by HMD Global.
Yeah, but they are promising stock Android. So stock Android should be easier for them to update the phones, but yet they still can't give that for their flagship phone. So that doesn't inspire confidence. And also, let's talk about OnePlus. OnePlus is also another brand that's known for having a bloat-free, smooth experience,
Oxygen
right?
OS.
Oxygen OS and all that stuff. But they're struggling to keep up with the updates. And even fans, right, who complain, hey, some of the older phones are not getting updates. And those who do complain that, hey, you just made my phone even worse.
those who got updates, the phone became worse.
Yes,
Yeah.
glitchy and all that stuff. So all these issues because of the fragmentation, and I think there's no proper standardization from Google to manage all this.
Okay, so I mean, if we were to speak to somebody from Google, they say, you know what, we've created like this really amazing and flexible platform that can exist in cars, TVs, set-top boxes, and even your phone. We're so proud to be able to drive this adoption of technology forward. And that's all we do. That's where we draw the line. I mean, we're enabling it, but to like really drive the experience, it comes down to the manufacturer. I mean, I think that's what they would say, and to a degree, I would agree, because people like Samsung and all that, it's up to them to know because Android wouldn't know, Google wouldn't know, Alphabet wouldn't know what hardware you're gonna put in a phone. Whether that Android system is going to be in a car or a TV or a set-top box or a smartwatch or whatever it is.
I'm pretty sure they know the segmentations.
Yes, but then how would they specify, for example, like, okay, you need to make sure that your hardware has X number of RAM, X number of storage, run this processor, run this camera to be able to maximize what Android can do.
I'm pretty sure they can do a framework similar to like Apple, right? So when Apple launched iOS 16, right, it covers a lot of phones, even the older phones. Like certain features, they launched a range of features.
Yeah.
Cosmetic wise, I think it will trickle down to all the devices. Certain features, for this specific feature, you need to have a certain chip and above. That's why certain phones, the newer phones, get more features.
Yeah, but the thing is, they are in control of that. So
Yes.
they only need to think of A whatever, right?
Yes,
A
correct.
13, 14, 15, 16.
Yep.
With Android, okay, are you on Snapdragon or are you on MediaTek or whatever
Yes.
funny name chip that's coming up nowadays?
Yep.
But having said that, I mean, I think other white label brands like Intel, and I think Intel also has the same problem, right?
Yep.
But they say, okay, you know what? To really deliver the Intel experience, we are now introducing this thing called Evo. So like an Intel Evo computer must meet these
Standards,
specifications, these hardware requirements.
Yep.
I think to a degree, Android tried doing that for Android One.
I think what's it? Android? Yeah, the light
cheap
version.
Android, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's called Android One, where
Android Go.
for you to be able to make cheap Android devices, these are the minimum requirements. The problem is that's on the other end of the spectrum, where it's even more commoditized,
Yep.
where there's really no differentiation other than just pricing alone.
Yep.
But when you come to the value, like the high worth segment, mid-range, flagship, right? People who are willing to plonk 5,000, 7,000 ringgit on a phone, they don't really. I mean, what matters to them is experience.
Yeah, they can do like Android, some premium experience. Okay,
Yeah.
for premium experience, you must have maybe certain processors like either a Snapdragon.
Like it must be AMOLED display, 120
Yes.
hertz.
Snapdragon,
Battery life must
yeah.
be X number of hours, whatever.
Yeah, and you can shortlist. This is only applicable for if you use a Snapdragon 8 or the top line Exynos and top line MediaTek. That's it, and these are standards you want to do. So if you get a phone with this badge, you're assured that your experience is like tip top.
Yeah, so I guess coming to that, so to answer the question whether is it Android that doesn't care, to a certain degree, yes. I think to a majority of the degree, Android doesn't care, because manufacturers like Samsung, I want to say Samsung, who are in it to win it, right? Who is in big in the game, right? They are the ones I feel that matches closely with what Apple is doing. So I guess if you're in the game, yeah, it's either Samsung or iPhone.
And also, speaking of Samsung, right? Like they are leading in the affordable market, right? Despite Google like sitting
Yeah,
on
they're
the
number
laurels.
one.
They're sitting on laurels, right? So Samsung has been trying to find a way how to make foldables work. They have their own they have their own One UI. They optimize it for multitasking, all that stuff. And it took like almost 4 generations before Google said, okay, now we're gonna take foldables seriously. They released Android 12L.
Yep.
After like 3 foldable devices.
And the reason why they're doing that, I feel, is not because of Samsung's doing it. I feel like Pixel's gonna come up with something. They're gonna come out like a foldable Pixel, and it's not fair lah. I mean, like, okay, then we talk about like a standard where people can follow, right? Then we have Google Pixel. Then every time we talk about Google Pixel, everybody talks about, oh wow, the camera is so amazing. I don't know, man. I feel it's overrated. I think Google Pixel as a phone is overrated.
Okay, Pixel, to be clear, right? Pixel is not Android. Pixel, I would say, is a separate brand because the interface.
But it runs on Android.
It runs on Android, but it's not stock Android. It's different. It's not like previously there's Google Nexus. Nexus is like, okay, here's like a reference phone. It's run as the Android.
Yep.
If you can follow to it because this is a standard stock Android.
Yep.
But now Pixel's like its own separate brand. Because the interface is different from stock Android, it's very different. The camera app is different, so they don't share that same camera features with other manufacturers.
Oh, they don't have. I thought before like Pixel, right? So let's say Google Camera, right? So if you run Google
Gcam,
Pixel, you will run Google Camera, right?
Yep.
So in Pixel, it's the camera app is called Google Camera, right? Or Gcam, right? And then you can download that and put it on your iPhone, right?
Yeah. And other Android phones.
Yes. Sorry, your Android phone, yes, your Samsung.
But now Pixel's like a separate brand. It's not stock Android. It's totally different. And also Pixel's like
It's not available everywhere.
Yeah, it's like Malaysia is one of the most vibrant smartphone markets, and Google don't bother selling their phones here.
Yeah, it's a really important smartphone market if you ask me.
Yeah, and Google's not even bother to come in here. So like that shows how serious Google is in the smartphone industry.
Yeah.
For me, is that it's just sad that there's lacking innovation in the Android space, and I feel that the burden right now is on the smartphone
manufacturers.
OEMs, manufacturers, and this will create more. How can I say fragmentation? I feel because I think if let's say Samsung goes deep into customization, and then the other manufacturers are just let's stick to a stock Android, and there's nothing moving here.
Yeah.
And the scary part is that for Android at least, they should be worried right now because it's so easy to switch from Android to iOS.
iPhone, yes.
Last time the biggest hurdle was WhatsApp. Ayo, I cannot back up and transfer my WhatsApp from my Android to iOS. Don't want lah. I'm gonna keep my Android phone, and that's one of the reasons why I have two phones initially. But now I still have two phones. I still have Android and iOS because they serve different needs. But now it's so easy to switch, and this with the new move to iOS, it's easy to transfer over to find the apps, and with WhatsApp
Apple Pay.
Yeah, now just Apple Pay, and with the migration from WhatsApp from Android to iOS, I think it's
seamless.
It's seamless now. Yeah.
I mean, both ways lah. You can also migrate from iPhone to Samsung seamlessly if you want.
Yeah.
But to your point, I agree. I mean, I was holding out on a Samsung phone because I was stuck. Cause not to say stuck lah. I have my cards on Samsung Pay, and it's easy for me to just tap. I've been telling you guys so many times, right? I prefer to have my phone and not my wallet. Like if I forget my wallet at home, it doesn't matter. I still have my phone. It's fine.
Yep.
Now with iPhone, it has Apple Pay. I mean, I don't know.
And also I tend to use less Samsung Pay because I think more people use e-wallets nowadays in Malaysia at least.
Yeah. I just feel so bad being so one-sided. I mean, because we try to be so impartial in our reporting, in our findings, in everything, but also by feeling bad being one-sided means we're not impartial. We're trying to find like something good about another brand, but unfortunately, okay, let's go one by one, right? So hardware about the same. I would argue Apple's better. I mean, certain devices you get at certain price points. Some devices you don't get full glass body. With iPhone 11, 12, 13, 14 is all full glass.
And it's optimized. I mean, you don't get as much battery capacity, you don't get as much RAM, but it's so optimized that it's so
you don't
seamless.
have to worry about it. I don't have to worry about how much RAM I have, what kind of. Okay lah. So they talk about their bionic chips and all that, but I don't really mind.
Yeah, even like until today, right? I'm using an iPhone 11 Pro Max, not the latest one. It still runs fine.
Yep.
Yeah, it's smooth. I've never complained about performance.
I guess the only problem is you don't bother upgrading. Like you say, you're on 11 Pro Max. I'm on the 12 Pro Max or 13 Pro Max. I think. I don't even feel like I want to upgrade to a 14.
Exactly. So that's how
good it is.
So polished. Because when they launch new RS, it feels like a new phone that got these new features.
Yeah.
You don't feel like, my phone is so slow, I need to move up.
Yeah, you actually look forward to the update.
Yes.
But when you get an update from Android, what's new? What's new? What? Okay, I got an update, but what's different? I think it's all the same. So, okay, we'll talk about hardware. Hardware, about the same. Software, I think.
Yeah, developers, I think they prefer iOS.
Operating system, right? Yeah, I think iOS is better. I don't know. I cannot compare it. Like I mean, when we don't have the materials here, or I didn't do my research to prepare to say that okay, technically Android is better because in its kernel and it's in programming language, it can do so many other things. I cannot say that, but as a user that's going to put some money down, iOS is better.
It's an experience that counts, right? I mean,
Yeah.
which one helps you do social media better? Which one gives you a better experience watching videos and TikTok and Instagram content?
iOS.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, then you talk about experience. You come
Yeah.
back to the sound, right?
Yes.
Apple, so good at doing this. You take a Mac, any Mac, and you compare it to the speaker of any Windows machine, even the high-end ones, the Mac will win all the time. Similarly to phones.
Yeah. Last time iPhones tend to be the screen's very dark. Like,
Yeah.
oh, LCD screen you want to use for Waze is so dark you
Yep.
can't see it
Yep.
while driving, right? And Android is always leaps ahead because you have brighter screens, OLED
Super AMOLED,
displays, Super AMOLED.
fast refresh
Refresh
rate
rate.
and everything. But now it's the same. No, they're better. Okay, screen wise, about the same. Speaker, I mean,
just
that's
louder.
a really important experience. A lot of people forget that speaker plays a role because you wear your buds and everything. But sometimes you don't. I mean, like, let's say I'm in bed or whatever, right? I don't want to put my buds on, or I want to share a video with somebody in public, right? iPhone wins.
Yeah, even like for gaming, for instance, like last time people say, "Oh, iPhone is it's not for gaming; it gets hot very fast and all that." But the new iPhone 14, right? They've actually improved the thermals. Like Najib, he use it for gaming on the iPhone 14 Plus. It doesn't feel warm like you used to. So they've made a lot of incremental updates. They're catching up to Android, and I think to sum it all up, right, whatever gaps that we set like 5 years ago or 10 years ago, right, they really closed the gap this time.
Yeah. So, and the other thing is this big thing, I think no Android manufacturer has ever cracked is the ecosystem. So I can have a Samsung phone, a Samsung tablet, and a Samsung PC, and a Samsung TV, and a Samsung washing machine, but it will not be as integrated as if I have an iPhone, a Mac, and iPad. That's just the way it is. They can, for some reason, I don't know why they can never do it. So, yeah. So, what do you guys think? iOS or Android? Did we miss some points? Do you agree or disagree with some points? Let us know. If you're watching us, if you'd like, we're also available on podcasts. Just search for Let's Talk About. Sorry, Chinchao. We're there on all of your favorite podcast platforms. If you're listening to us on podcast and you like the show, give us a 5-star rating because that helps the show. If you're watching us on YouTube, thanks very much for watching. Give us a thumbs up if you like the show. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And like I said, we'd love to hear what you think of our discussion today. Which camp are you on? And why do you like the operating system that you like? And whether you're going to switch or not. Or whether you've made the switch. Let us know. If you're listening to us on podcast and you want to chime in on the topic today, drop us a voice note at
Let's Talk About at soyachinchao.com.
And we'll be more than happy to hear from you guys. All right, so I think that's pretty much it. This is me, Amin.
And this is Alex.
Catch you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.